And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these great stories twice a day. Now, y'all, today we're going to talk about not only Boston, but the state of Massachusetts in general. They are trying to get their immigration problem solved. They have spent over $1 billion. That's right, a billy. That's a million times 1,000. They've spent over $1 billion helping people who are in the country without permission. And now there's a bit of a division between the governor, who seems like she's ready to put all of this behind her as she looks to become, well, the governor again, as she looks for re-election. And then so that's the governor of the state, right, of Massachusetts. And then the city of Boston mayor, Michelle Wu, who she's doubling down, tripling down. She just, people who don't have permission to be in the country, that's where she wants to put all her money. So you're going to see in this video that there's a difference. And so I'm going to say the state of Massachusetts wants the immigrants gone because the governor is above the mayor, and she has jurisdiction not only over the city of Boston, but over the entire state. So let's take a look at this report about Massachusetts closing down its migrant hotels. And also make sure you hang around, y'all, because we're also going to see how the dangerous rhetoric, and I don't like using that word dangerous a lot, but we're going to see how the rhetoric that Michelle Wu, the Boston mayor, has been using. I'm not going to say it has directly attributed to attacks on ICE and Border Patrol agents. I'm not going to say it's her fault. But there is a climate that has been created apparently, and she hasn't helped. Okay, I'm not blaming it on her, but she could probably help with her words, which she hasn't. So make sure you don't go anywhere. First, let's get into this report though of Massachusetts closing its migrant hotels down. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money. I'm not going to make this a long one, y'all. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com, or call 844-651-8334, 844-651-8334. If you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement, protected from inflation, protected from monetary debasement, you're about to retire. Make sure your money's still there and it's still worth something by investing at least some of it in gold. Talk to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Go click the link now, get the free information, and protect your precious retirement.
Today, Massachusetts is set to shut down nearly all shelters at hotels. Thousands of migrants and also homeless families have lived in those shelters over the last several years. Boston 25 News reporter April Baker live at the State House for us this morning with the plan moving forward. April.
Good morning, Nicole. These closures are months ahead of the schedule that Governor Maura Healey laid out earlier this year. By the numbers, 28 state-run shelters at hotels and motels will close today. The remaining 4 are expected to close by the end of the summer. Initially, the governor set a goal of closing all shelters by the end of the year. At the peak of the migrant crisis last year, there were 128 hotels and motels being used by the state as shelters, housing more than 7,500 people. Massachusetts has a right to shelter law that guarantees families with children accommodations. However, the surge of migrant families into the state between 2023 and 2024 overran the system and pushed costs into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Republicans have been critical of Healey's handling of the shelter system, saying she's shifting the burden onto other state programs. We've reached out, or we are planning to actually reach out to Governor Maura Healey about where they plan to put other migrants in the shelters, where they're going in the future. Reporting live outside the State House, I'm April Baker for your local station.
All right, now that you've seen that, y'all, let's take a look at this op-ed. I believe this is an opinion piece by Battenfield, who says, desperate Healey trying to rewrite history on migrant crisis. Again, Healey's looking for re-election, and Healey realized, oh, I gave all the money of my state. I gave it to all the people who aren't even in the country legally. They don't even have permission to be in the country. So I got to figure out what to do. So what does Joe Battenfield say that Maura Healey's going to do? All right, let's read. He says, Governor Maura Healey is desperately trying to rewrite history on the $1 billion per year. Oh, that's not just a billy, that's every year. The $1 billion a year migrant crisis, hoping to stave off a potent election year issue which threatens her attempt at a second term. Healey has the monumental task of trying to squirm out from under the problem, coming up with a whole new narrative to cover her ineptitude. I like that word. And errors in how she initially dealt with the crisis. She obviously realizes what a crushing issue it could be for her re-election next year, so is now claiming she, quote, inherited, end quote, the migrant problem from the Biden administration and is asserting Massachusetts is not a sanctuary state. Now, y'all, Boston is absolutely a sanctuary city, so how do you square that? How do you square that? After being sharply criticized by Republicans for running for the corner office, Healey is trying to flip the narrative, saying she's the one who straightened out the mess. Will voters buy it? Probably not. But Healey is in political mode now, where she is at her best. Y'all look at her. Just look at her as she talks in the background with this B-roll. She's quite the effective communicator. She's been a disappointing governor, but is a great campaigner. Quote, "This is a crisis that I inherited when I became governor and started in 2023. She claimed in a televised on-the-record interview last year. We worked really hard, and I've taken a number of steps to actually reform the way the system operates and make changes." All right, y'all. So what does that mean now? It means close down the shelters. It means close down the hotels. It means try to kick people out quietly and do it as expeditiously as possible so you can get that second term. But see, she has to contend with Michelle Wu, who's the mayor of Boston. Michelle Wu's not going for that. Michelle Wu was like, are you documented? No. If you're documented, we don't want you. If you don't have permission to be in the country, you need to come on over because we got money for you. And it makes our city safer is what Michelle Wu says. People who are in the country without permission, according to Michelle Wu, is making Boston safer some kind of way. All right. And so let's take a look at these words from Michelle Wu that she said recently. And then we're going to see that there was actually 2 different shootings on migration related officials just in the past week or so. So listen to what Michelle Wu had to say.
Meanwhile, the Democrats are asking for some type of boycott against our ICE agents. They want their masks to be removed because they're trying to protect themselves from being doxxed online. Mayor Wu is the latest example of how they've been treating our ICE agents.
Of Boston?
Of Boston. Here's what she said.
I don't know of any police department that routinely wears masks. We know that there are other groups that routinely wear masks. NSC 131 routinely wears masks.
Mayor, just to clarify, are you comparing ICE to NSC 131, neo-Nazi group, are you comparing them to that Nazi group?
What I said is that Boston Police and no police department that I know of at the local level routinely wears masks.
So the White House is calling her out for stoking hatred against our law enforcement, but she's doubling down on this rhetoric.
Now that you heard what Michelle Wu had to say, okay, this is like what we call ratcheting up the temperature, right? Again, I'm not saying anything's her fault, okay? People will like to say, oh, this is your fault. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that there's a climate, right? There's a climate. There's a context. There's an environment that you can help create. And the environment she's helped create leads to shootings, as you will see in this video from just today. Okay, this is not ancient history. We're talking about a shooting today. Let's take a look.
A separate incident is unfolding just along the border. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol announced earlier today that there was an active shooter incident in the Rio Grande Valley. CBS News correspondent Chanel Call has been following the story since it first broke. Chanel, what do we know so far about this?
Well, this is a developing story taking place in McAllen, Texas this hour. We can tell you CBP officers there were targeted in what's being called an ambush-style attack. That this happened a little after 6 a.m. this morning. The suspect attacked CBP building shortly after 6 o'clock this morning. Agents then, Mugo, returned fire and the suspect was killed. At this point, we know no federal officers were shot. Not sure how many rounds, though, were fired by the suspect in this case. They said said, quote, many dozens of rounds fired by the suspect towards the building and towards agents in that building. We're also told, Mugo, the suspect had more weapons, more ammunition, and at this point, FBI will be taking the lead. As for what's happening locally there, vehicular traffic to the airport has been shut down, and unclear at this point, obviously early stages of the investigation, what could have motivated this person to attack those CPP officers. I'll also note that there are three, according to DHS, three officers who were injured. Two were federal officers, so CPP officers, and one was that local police officer who I mentioned was shot in the knee. Police say that person is now in stable condition and is expected to survive. So still a very developing story, waiting to get more details. Want to also note this incident, Mugo, follows another shooting that happened outside a Texas detention center, this one in Alvarado, Texas, on Friday.
So here in Massachusetts, we see a juxtaposition. Did y'all know I had them big old vocabulary words? We see a juxtaposition. We see the governor who is attempting to step away from the migrant crisis, who's attempting to step away from the people who are in the country without permission. And then we have so that's the Massachusetts Governor Healey. Then we have the Boston Mayor, Michelle Wu, who wants to give him a big old hug, you know? So how's this going to work? When is Healey going to take on Wu directly? What is going to happen, y'all? This is so interesting. Y'all know we'll be covering it. I don't even live in Boston. Well, I'm always talking about somebody else's city. Y'all can get mad at me. But, you know, as long as y'all keep watching, we still talking. I find this absolutely fascinating. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think Healey's being sincere, or do you think she's just politicking? What do you think is going to happen when Healey and Wu have to go at it? Y'all know, I know y'all hear the background noise, y'all. Just work with me. Y'all know I'm in a loud country. I'm here for the summer. I'm a migrant right now myself, but I do have my legal status. Y'all let me know down in the comments, but before you do, please stop, hit the share button, share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. For all my people with a retirement, I know you've been seeing the craziness, y'all. I know the tariffs just today. Stock market was up. Talked about tariffs. Stock market went down. Y'all, the dollar's about to get crushed. Okay, I'm just telling you, dollar's about to get killed, and that's gonna make gold go up. The dollar's about to get killed within the next 1 to 2 years. If everything goes the way it looks like it's going to go, gold is going to benefit from that. Bitcoin will probably benefit from that. The dollar's going to get killed. So if you want to protect your retirement from the upsies, downsies, roundsies, and roundsies, take a look at gold. Y'all, it's been man's best friend, monetary best friend for the last 5,000 years. Go to our link of Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. Put your information in, download the free report, read it. We're reading people, aren't we? And then talk to my people at Augusta Precious Metals at 844-651-8334. I want to thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.